Okay, for this tutorial, we're going to take a look at editing one of your photos or artworks and changing color overlays, adding a textured background, and a vignette. In this photograph, there's an interesting concept with the broken board and the portrait, but the background is not contributing to the overall subject matter. In fact, it could be distracting with the hole in the background and the cars. So what we're going to do is first duplicate the background layer so that we have a copy in case we need it. Next, I'm going to go to mask mode right here at the bottom of the tool palette. And I'm going to mask out the portrait and the skateboard. And I like using the masking tool because I get to select the hair organically versus trying to use a hard edge selection tool. When I'm in mask mode, the layer is going to turn red, telling me I'm in mask mode. It's going to switch my foreground to black and my background white. We're going to get a brush tool, and I'm going to choose the soft round brush. And it's going to look like we are painting red. What we're doing, though, is painting a mask. And I'm using the soft round brush so that I can do a soft edge around the hair and make that look more natural. All right, I'm also painting at 100% opacity, 100% flow. I don't want any of this to be transparent. All right, once I'm done masking the hair, I am going to switch to a hard edge now to get the rest of the image I want. All right, I'm going up and down in size with my brush tool to give me control over painting more detailed areas like the edge here of the skateboard, or just trying to work more efficiently by making it bigger when I want more surface area. Now, right here I went out of bounds of my where I want to select. So what I'm going to do is simply switch to white and paint with white to get rid of the mask. All right, back to black, back to painting the mask. Okay, I would take some more time to make this really nice and really clean, but for the sake of our tutorial, we'll keep moving. All right, once I have everything I want selected in the red mask area, I'm going to go back to the tool palette and I'm going to uncheck the mask button. What you should see here is the marching ants telling me that the background has been selected. If I wanted to actually select the area I masked, I would simply inverse the selection. But I do want the background selected. So I'm going to go back to just the background being selected, and I'm going to hit delete to get rid of it. All right, next up, I'm going to add a background. I already searched for a brick texture background, so I'm going to go ahead and open up that as its own document so that I don't reduce its file size. Okay, here it is. I'm going to unlock this layer, get my move tool, and drag and drop this over to my photograph. Okay, now this is really small in resolution, so I'm going to go ahead and make it larger and see how it looks. I might need to go get a better resolution image. All right, still looks okay. I'm going to go ahead and drag that below my background. All right, play around with the placement. All right, right now, these are not matching at all. And by the way, our photograph of the skateboarder is a little bit underexposed. It needs some brightness. So I'm going to go back to the photograph of the portrait, and I'm going to make some adjustments. I'm going to use the adjustment layer button, and we're going to make some adjustments. For instance, the levels. My levels pop up in my properties palette here with my new adjustment layer. And I'm going to play around with my shadows, midtones, highlights. And I can do that by adjusting the stops right here, the shadow stop, the midtone stop, or the highlight stop. All right, so I've brightened it up a little bit using the levels. I can do some other adjustments like even a brightness contrast adjustment layer. Now my properties have popped up and I could brighten it up right here if I want, or even increase the contrast between the shadows and the highlights, which is bringing out some nice butterfly shadow under the nose and shadows under the chin. All right, so now that I've brightened that up, I want to match my background lighting to the portrait lighting, because right now those do not match. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a brand new layer, and I'm going to fill it with a color that matches the portrait. So I'm going to go get my eyedropper, sample a color from the skateboard. Next, I'm going to get my paint bucket, and I'm just going to fill the whole layer with that color. Next up, I'm going to drop down my layer blending modes and just kind of play around with the layer blending mode to see how it could interact with the layer below it. Now, by the way, right now, it's affecting not only the brick, but also the portrait. So I could drag this color down, and now when I do my layer blending, it's only going to affect the brick and not the portrait. So I'm going to go to overlay, and now it matches up a little bit better. I could do some other ones that are softer, maybe like soft light. Okay, that's the end of part 1, and we'll pick up the rest in part 2.